Hello and welcome to the Unlock demo and workshop to learn about a bit more about how Unlock works and what Unlock is. So Unlock is an open protocol for memberships. Basically, it allows any creator on the web to monetize their content, games, application, shop, or communities using NFTs, using memberships. These memberships are, as I said, represented as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, on an Ethereum compatible chain, including obviously the Ethereum mainnet, as well as Polygon or XDAI. I would first start by telling you to maybe check our website, unlock-protocol.com, on which you could find a bunch of links to get started. The next step, and I'm going to show you today, is how to deploy a lock, which is your own membership contract, and then how people can eventually purchase these memberships and how you can integrate that lock into your own applications. The pre-requirement for this demonstration is to have a crypto wallet. I'm using here MetaMask, which is a Chrome extension, but that exists also as a Firefox extension. And Unlock is also compatible with Wallet Connect, meaning that you can deploy a lock from a mobile wallet on your cell phone. Without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start maybe showing you MetaMask here. I've got a demo account on which there's 0.01 ETH. I'm using the Rinkeby testnet. You will see that Unlock has actually been deployed on multiple networks. So from the website, I'm going to click on App and be redirected immediately to our dashboard. The first thing you see on the dashboard is obviously the network that we're connected to. As you can see, we support Ethereum mainnet, we support Rinkeby, we support XDAI, we support Polygon, as well as a dev network, which I don't think is really useful in your situation here. You can see also the address with which I'm connected. It starts with 05796 here. And that's the address that I'm connected with. Obviously, since I'm using MetaMask, I could toggle to any other account. At this point, I have not deployed any contract, and so the screen is mostly empty. So what we're going to do first is to deploy a lock. Again, a lock is a smart contract deployed on the chain of your choice, and it really represents the terms of the membership. So we're going to see that right away. I'm going to start by creating a lock here. The first thing that I'm going to give is a name. So I'm going to unlock demo here. That name is stored on chain. You can actually customize it later on when you integrate the lock on your website. But it's still useful to use a very descriptive name because that's how the NFTs for your users are going to be. That's how the name that is going to be used by the NFTs that your users are going to purchase from the lock. We'll see that later. When the lock itself is deployed, it can mint keys. Keys are the NFTs, and each key, each membership in practice, has a duration. Here I'm going to pick a much shorter one than 30 days. I can pick 1 day, but you could pick basically any duration between 1 day and even less if you were to deploy this using the command line, all the way to thousands of years if you wanted to. I just mentioned the command line. Here, obviously, this interface is a front end, but you don't need to use that front end. You could definitely use the smart contracts directly, and for this, I would point you to our docs, or even a command line tool to deploy your own locks and customize them in a way that doesn't require you to use our front end to deploy the locks at this point. There is a quantity that you can set for the number of memberships. Here I'm going to pick, let's do something pretty small, 10. So it's almost like I'm going to rename this the Unlock Demo OG because it's so limited in terms of number of members that there's going to be scarcity around this. I could have picked unlimited, meaning that any number of people could have purchased a membership from me. Here you see that I'm using ETH as the base currency. We can actually use any ERC20, and again here I would point you to our docs on how to do this. On Rinkeby we show one extra ERC20 called We, but I'm going to use ETH here because it's easier and that's the one that I have in my wallet. Again, you can use any ERC20 on any chain, whether it's mainnet, Polygon, XDAI, Rinkeby. You can use any ERC20 contract that has been deployed on these, and so that includes, for example, obviously social tokens and others, governance tokens, for example, and things like this. Once we've set these kind of 4 base values, we're going to hit submit here, and here we're going to send our very first transaction on chain. MetaMask is popping up here. You can see that, and since I'm using a full screen version of that, it's looking. Oops, let me go back to my web browser here. I'm going to just confirm that transaction. And I'm actually confused as to why this shows. But let's go back to Chrome. here. It's because of the full screen thing. And you see immediately here after I've deployed the lock that this now lock appears on the page. You can see its address. It starts with a 1EA72. The duration is 1 day. The quantity is 0 out of 10. So for now we have not sold any of the memberships, any of the keys. The price is 0.01 ETH. We can still change that to something else if we wanted to. We can actually also change the currency if we wanted to, but this time using the command line. We can see the balance here. Let's go back to the integration pane because that's the next most interesting one. As we're on this screen, I also want to show you that obviously the lock is deployed on chain, so we can actually look at the block explorer here and see that the contract is verified. I'm definitely going to recommend that you look at this for your locks, and you can actually read the contract, and so you can see a bunch of properties that are set by default, as well as set a few other, update them if you wanted to. So for example, you can set the beneficiary. That's the address that's going to receive the funds. Here by default, it's my address because I deployed the membership, but this is the lock. But this is definitely changeable, so you can change that to be any other address. Obviously, you can set, for example, a trial length, free trial length, in terms of number of seconds. So you can say, hey, for the first day of the membership, if people cancel, they get a full refund. Talking about cancellation, you can actually set also a penalty, saying that whenever somebody wants to cancel their membership, which in practice is burning their NFT, they should lose some of their funds and not get a full refund. You can actually make it so that there is no possible refund at all. So in that scenario, you burn everything else. You can see the name that we just used. So obviously the Unlock Demo OG. I would definitely recommend looking at these. There's quite a lot of functions here. They're all pretty interesting, and you should definitely look at these before you get started. Once you've read some of the properties, you can actually write more. Here you can add, for example, a key grantor. That's a special role on the contract. And again, I would point you to the docs. And that role is basically an address that is able to airdrop memberships for free to any of your members. You can add a lock manager. The initial lock manager is the person who deploys the lock, but you can add multiple lock managers, and each of the lock managers can actually renounce their lock manager role, as you can see here. You can disable a lock, so once you see that your lock is not useful anymore, you don't want people to be able to purchase it or anything like this, you should disable it by using that function here. You can, do a bunch of things. We'll look at a few of these functions a bit later in that demo. So let's go back to our dashboard. So the first thing you see here is actually pretty interesting, is that we pre-build a purchase URL, purchase address. And that address is basically a place where your members can actually purchase their own membership. So once you've deployed the contract, obviously nobody has purchased a membership. And by clicking on that link and by sharing that link with your fans or inside of your application with whoever needs to purchase the membership, you can easily get them to purchase these memberships and these NFTs. That whole window is actually very much customizable, from the icon to the text to even the number of memberships. So let's assume you have deployed maybe 2 or 3 different locks. You might want to show them on the same page. This is obviously possible here. You can see here that on this page we show obviously the price, 0.01 ETH. We do convert with as accurate as possible price, which is about $22 right now and 77 cents. We see that there's obviously 10 memberships left, and at each membership is valid for 1 day. I'm gonna click proceed here. The option here by default is to connect my crypto wallet, and I'm just gonna do that. Obviously I'm using a browser wallet called MetaMask here, so I'm gonna select that. Again, could have used Wallet Connect here. I'm gonna select this, and now I'm gonna basically offer to purchase the membership using my crypto wallet. So I'm gonna click on that, and you'll see that MetaMask is popping up saying, hey, do you want to purchase that membership? And this is about 0.01 ETH plus a little bit of gas. And I'm going to just confirm this. And hopefully quickly the transaction will get mined, and I can now go enjoy the membership and use it to access content on my site, on a site, or a protected Discord channel, or features inside of an application or inside of a game, etc., etc., etc. There's really kind of an endless world of possibilities here. One of the ideas that we're pretty excited about is using Unlock as basically API keys, where a SaaS service could say, hey, each of my tiers basically are different memberships, and people need to unlock a membership to access extra features or extra levels of support or any of these things. Cool, so I think that's probably clarified things a little bit. Let's actually go to see the transaction that actually happened here when I purchased the membership. So using MetaMask here, I'm going to go back to that transaction, and we're going to see here. So that's the transaction that happened. Obviously, it was sent from my address to the lock about 30 seconds ago now, and was mined as part of a block. You can see here what's interesting is like a token was transferred. So in that scenario, this token was actually minted because it's a brand new one. It's token number 1 on that lock. And that is an NFT that was minted from address 00, which is creation, and assigned to me. What's interesting here is we can look at the function that was called actually the purchase function, which we've seen a bit earlier in the ABI description, and has a bunch of parameters that you can customize very much inside of your code and applications. Maybe some of the interesting ones are recipients. So the first one is obviously the value, so it's the amount of money that you want to pay. We specify this because there is actually a way to tip, a way to pay a bit more than what the actual price of the membership is. We did not use that in the demo, but we only paid 0.01 ETH. But again, we could have submitted 0.02 ETH and actually have sent a little tip to the creator here, to the owner of the lock. The recipient I was mentioning is actually an interesting one. In most cases, people will purchase the membership for themselves, and that's actually what happened here. I've purchased with this is my address here. I've purchased the membership for myself, but there's definitely a situation where you might want to have somebody purchase on behalf of somebody else, or on behalf of another address. So you can think of an example of this, actually a pretty common one, where say you have kind of a company or a set of different people that are willing to purchase something for an organization, or an organization willing to purchase something for a specific member of that organization. So for example, the accounting or the purchase service of a company might purchase a membership for the software developer that's going to use an application here. So that's definitely possible to do here. Cool. So as I said, ERC721, so it's an NFT. It is actually available on all of the marketplaces that you can think of, from OpenSea to Rarible and others, as any other ERC721 contract. Let's go back to the dashboard. Actually, no, this one here. Oh, no, here, this one. Go back to the dashboard. We have obviously some, how can I say this, integrations, a bit more complete integration. So for example, we have a WordPress plugin to add a lock to a WordPress post, where you say, hey, the content of that story is only available for the people that have the NFT in their wallet. We have, for example, a Discord bot. We have an integration with Cloudflare, which basically hides a website completely unless the visitor has a membership. An integration with Webflow to make it easy for people who deploy kind of websites using Webflows. We're using Webflow to kind of show or hide content based on the status of the membership. Integration with Discourse, which is, as you know, a forum software that people can put on their websites to organize discussions. And the good thing about this one is that you can actually create private threads, or not so much private, but like members only threads, and that's actually pretty useful in the context, for example, of governance, where you want to have discussion between only some of the token holders. This is definitely possible. We also have a set of tutorials on how to build a bunch of custom things, like an ad blocker, ticket experience, because a ticket to a conference, for example, I'm just back from a conference. A ticket to a conference is a membership for that conference for a few hours, and so that's definitely, or a few days. That's definitely an option on how you can use Unlock. You can get donations on your GitHub page. Let's actually go check that out on the Unlock GitHub. We did actually integrate that, obviously, and you can easily see that happen here, where basically people are able to unlock an Unlock membership, either on Ethereum mainnet or XDAI. Remember what I told you earlier about the fact that we can actually show 2 different locks. You can actually show 2 locks on 2 different networks on a specific page here. Let's go back to the dashboard. Oh, still the wrong one. I'm going to close that one because it's over now. Going back here, we also have obviously a very much in-depth documentation. You should check it out to allow you to kind of integrate your lock into kind of any web application or any app, actually, as a matter of fact, even native applications and further. So I would definitely recommend that you check out these documentation. There is a lot of different context and content in here to look at. Let's go back actually to maybe the top bar. There's a very important one, which is the credit card. With Unlock, people can actually purchase memberships, NFTs, with their credit card. People who don't have a crypto wallet, we've never heard about crypto or who don't really care about crypto, can easily purchase a membership with their credit card. In that situation, there's actually a two-step flow. First is linking your lock to your Stripe account. And so that's the first step here, connect Stripe. And the second one is actually to grant to Unlock Inc., to us, the power of giving away memberships for free. The idea here, obviously, is that if somebody has paid with their credit card, they should receive the NFT, and we will actually make sure that that's what happens. You have a very high-level demo, so pretty similar to the one that I showed earlier of like what Unlock can look on a web app, like a paywall here. So I'm just going to connect here, and you're going to see it's a fairly similar UI to what we've seen earlier. What's interesting here is I'm going to use basically the way to kind of show, connect with my wallet, and so I'm going to use my in-browser wallet, and you see immediately the content has been unlocked because I already have a membership, and so I can just go read the content here without worrying too much. And purchasing a new membership. So let's go back here. Another interesting page is the members page, where you can see all of the members that you have on your lock. Here there might be actually metadata associated with the membership, and so that's what we're trying to show here by requiring the lock owner or the lock manager, as I said earlier, to kind of sign a little message. And you see that obviously there's just one membership at this point that I created a couple of minutes ago. It's token number 1. The holder is me at this point, and it expires in about a day, because obviously that membership is valid for a day. So that's a pretty powerful one. And I'm refreshing the dashboard here. Dashboard, Block Explorer. So one of the interesting things as well is, like, obviously I did purchase the membership for 0.01 ETH, which means that now the lock actually has a balance of 0.01 ETH, because obviously I did purchase that membership. What I can do now is actually withdraw the funds. So I'm going to click on that button, and you see that it's a transaction, and it's basically going to take the ETH that's on that lock and send it to me. We rightfully update the balance on the lock after this, and if we could check my balance of ETH, it's gonna, as soon as this transaction gets mined, it's gonna go up by 0.01 ETH. Oop, you see it happen already, and I'm now richer by a little bit of ETH here. Cool. Obviously, you can deploy as many locks as you want, so I'm not going to do a second one here, but this is definitely an option. As I said earlier, you can actually switch networks and use multiple networks. So that's really the kind of the Unlock 101. Maybe a couple other things that are interesting. The keychain. This is the place where you can see, as a member, all of your memberships. So here I only have one, obviously, because I just purchased my first one, and it's one that I just purchased, and we've seen about 9 minutes ago now for that OG lock. As I said earlier, these are NFTs, so they're tradable on OpenSea, etc., which is pretty powerful. Maybe as a last step, I want to show you again the docs. So I would definitely we actually don't have the link to the docs here, which is interesting. I thought we did. Going back here, documentation, multiple sections here. The first section is for creators, so basically people that are not necessarily technical, that we want to deploy their own lock and put it on their website. We have a little indication on how to do that using any ERC20, as I mentioned earlier. So I would recommend that you can check this. It's an example on how to deploy with Batch, for example. Some documentation on how to enable credit card on a lock, which is extremely powerful. And as I said, we're using Stripe here. Actually, a pretty cool demo that I can actually show here. This little icon is obviously the NFT image that's going to show up in people's wallets, but it's completely customizable. So I'm going to upload a file here and use a different one. I don't know what should I use. A hackathon that we recently did, which is the Hackathon Brother 3000. So I'm going to just use that icon, save it, and you'll see now that basically this is the image on the NFT. And if I go check my keychain, hopefully, it didn't work. Interesting. Maybe it's cached somewhere. It is probably cached. So let's assume this has been cached. Yeah, because the icon is right here. So yeah, basically customizing the image is pretty powerful, as I was showing you in the docs. We have a bunch of tutorials for creators on how to integrate into several applications, WordPress, as I mentioned earlier, as well as tutorial on creating interesting things. One of the cool one that was just created by some of our team members is how to organize a vote by members. So in the DeFi and in the crypto world, there's obviously a pretty big trend around thinking about governance, like how do people kind of express their opinions and maybe vote on certain things. You can definitely use Unlock memberships as one membership, one vote mechanism, and this is a tutorial on how to do this using the snapshot tool, which is pretty interesting. We also have documentation for developers, which I would definitely recommend you to look at. Maybe starts with a kind of a high-level introduction to how Unlock works. Obviously, there's a set of smart contracts. There is Unlock.js, which is a JavaScript library that provides kind of a wrapper around the RPC calls, so to make it a bit easier, as well as front-end application. So the dashboard, the paywall, tickets, and a few other ones. We do have accounts, which are ways for people who don't have a crypto wallet to easily unlock content with their credit cards. We have documentation about the smart contract, obviously. High level, we have two big contracts. One is called the Unlock contract, which is the factory, and the other one is called the Lock contract. It's the membership contract that we deployed here. I'm not going to go too far into details because it gets pretty deep pretty quickly, but again, you should look at this. There's a lot of interesting things. Unlock.js, as I said earlier, is kind of a wrapper around the ABI and the RPC calls to make it a bit easier for people to deploy lock, purchase membership, change prices, withdraw funds, etc. We also have a subgraph, or actually multiple subgraphs, deploy on the network that we're deployed on. What's interesting about these subgraphs is that they allow you to query for rich data coming from the protocol, which is pretty powerful. We have ways to customize the metadata on the lock. So there's really multiple levels of customization that you can do, including collecting user information like email addresses or things like this, but also obviously changing things like the image, as we've seen a couple of minutes earlier. And so there's a bit of an explanation here on how to do these things. The paywall application is the one that you can use to embed the lock on a site. And we have also kind of a server-side component called Locksmith, which you should look at the docs if you're interested. That allows you to do adding credit card for users and things like this. Cool. Maybe the last step before we wrap this up, you should know that Unlock has its own governance token. It's called UDT. It's the Unlock token. This section basically has all of the explanation about it. It is definitely extremely powerful. The idea is that UDT tokens are minted whenever somebody uses the protocol, with the idea, with the expectation that any user of the protocol can become a stakeholder and can become a full participant into the Unlock ecosystem. You're not just a user, you become, again, a stakeholder here. We also have a grants program, especially for the early days and for people building at hackathons. We're interested in exploring interesting ideas or building kind of innovative use cases. And we have a review process that we invite you to look at so that you can earn tokens from us and then join the protocol's governance. After this, maybe a couple things. I would definitely recommend that you check our Discord. We're on Discord like a lot of crypto projects. And we have a lot of interesting sections here that I would recommend you to look at. You'll start in the lobby, which is basically the area where everybody shows up. But then from the lobby, you can actually unlock some of the other channels. And so I definitely recommend that you do that. And that's pretty much it. So as a wrap up, go check out the website, unlock-protocol.com. That's where we start. Join our Discord. Feel free to ask any question that you have. We're definitely excited to hear about you, to hear what you're building, and we'll definitely help you as much as we can build amazing things. Awesome. Chat soon. Bye-bye.